My name is Mark. I'm 51, and I make a living walking into other people's problems with a clipboard and a neutral expression. That's not bravado. It's the job. I'm an insurance adjuster. Storm damage, busted roofs, commercial buildings with water where it doesn't belong. I document facts, I follow procedures. I don't panic, and I don't speculate. You learn quickly that emotion just clouds judgment. So when work sent me to Pueblo in December of 2014 for a routine commercial claim, it was hail damage exterior assessment. I treated it like every other overnight trip. Mid-range roadside hotel near the highway, functional and beige. The kind of place you forget the second you check out. I arrived around 7. The lobby smelled a little bad, like burnt coffee and old fart. The desk clerk was polite and disengaged, slid my key card across the counter, and reminded me breakfast started at 6. My room was on the 2nd floor, long hallway, corner room. I noticed the camera dome near the stairwell, the fire exit map on the back of my door. The deadbolt looked recently tightened. Those details register automatically for me. I ordered takeout and ate sitting on the edge of the bed while reviewing photos of dented siding on my phone. I laid out my clothes for the morning, plugged my phone in, set my alarm for 5:45. Predictable night. Exactly what I wanted. Around 11:30, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Hotel hallways carry sound. Someone opens a vending machine and it echoes like it's in your room. My brain filed it under normal. Late arrival, smoker, someone heading to ICE. The footsteps stopped outside my door. And it wasn't a quick pause, not the wrong room hesitation followed by a keycard beep. Just stopped. I listened. After about 30 seconds, the footsteps moved on. I told myself they were checking room numbers. Boring explanation. I liked boring explanations. 10 minutes later, the footsteps came back. I stood up and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, carpet pattern bending at the edges from the fisheye lens. When I cracked the door just enough to look down, I saw light scuffing in the carpet outside, the kind you get from someone moving their feet. Still explainable. Still nothing worth escalating. Just after midnight, it happened a third time. Footsteps stopping at my door, then another sound, a short metallic rattle. I sat up fully this time and listened. Another brief rattle, then silence. I called the front desk. I kept my voice even, descriptive. I'm in room 214. I've heard someone stop outside my door multiple times, and just now it sounded like someone was testing door handles. A pause, not startled, more like a mental switch flipping. Okay, the clerk said slowly, let me have security call you. Less than a minute later, my phone rang. Different voice, older. Sir, what room are you in? 214. Another pause, like he was confirming something. I need you to stay inside your room for the rest of the night. I blinked. Why? It's just safer. No reassurance, no explanation, no mention of checking the hallway. Should I leave the hotel? I asked. I can drive somewhere else. No, he said immediately. Do not leave. Are police involved? A longer pause. Not yet. Then he said, lock your door, use the deadbolt. Do not open it for anyone until morning. Not staff, not housekeeping. If anyone claims to be hotel personnel, call us first. That's when the tone changed completely. This wasn't precaution. This was containment. I locked the door, checked the deadbolt, even put the chain on, though I know chains are mostly symbolic. I backed away and sat in the chair by the window with my keys in my hand, not as a weapon, just because keys mean options. 15 minutes passed, then footsteps again. They stopped directly outside my door. This time, they didn't move on. I didn't go to the peephole. I just listened. A faint sound, someone breathing close to the door. There was no knocking and no attempt to enter. Just waiting. Wrong room guests knock. Drunk people mutter. Confused people fumble with key cards. This was none of that. Then I heard a radio crackle somewhere down the hall, a burst of static, and a low voice I couldn't make out. The breathing stopped. The footsteps retreated. Not running, but purposeful, like someone who knew exactly where they were going. After that, nothing. Silence returned, which somehow made it worse. I stayed awake, fully dressed, listening to the heater cycle and separating normal sounds from everything else. Around dawn, the hotel woke up. Toilets flushed, doors opened, someone's TV turned on. Then came the knock, 2 firm taps. "Security," a voice said. "It's clear." I didn't open the door immediately. I called the front desk to confirm. The clerk sounded annoyed but did it. The guard stood in the hallway with his hands visible, posture neutral. He didn't apologize, he didn't explain. "What happened?" I asked. He avoided eye contact. Someone who shouldn't have been on that floor. That's all? That's all I can say. At checkout, the desk clerk acted like nothing had happened, just printed my receipt and asked how my stay was. I left, did my inspection, filed my report, and drove out of Pueblo by noon. Weeks later, I realized what unsettled me most. It wasn't the footsteps. It wasn't the breathing. It was being told by someone in authority that the safest thing I could do was not move and not ask questions. I've worked accidents my whole career. When professionals stop explaining and start restricting movement, it's because something's already gone wrong. If you've never worked events, here's the simplest way to explain it. Your brain never really shuts off. Even when the day is technically over, you're still replaying timelines, counting chairs, wondering if a vendor will suddenly text you at midnight with a problem you somehow own. You don't rest, you power down. That was me in Little Rock in August of 2016. I was an event planner, in town for a mid-sized corporate conference. Nothing flashy, just enough moving parts to keep me awake for 2 straight days. By the time I checked into the hotel, I'd been up since before sunrise, running on caffeine and adrenaline. The lobby was full. Conference badges, rolling suitcases, people laughing at the bar. Normal noise, normal chaos. The kind that makes you feel safer because nothing stands out. At the front desk, the woman checking me in clicked through my reservation and frowned slightly. "We're pretty full," she said. Then she looked up and smiled. "But I can put you in a quieter room, away from the elevators." That sounded perfect. She handed me my key card, circled the Wi-Fi password, told me where the elevator was. Everything felt efficient, the way hotels are supposed to feel when you're too tired to think. The elevator ride up was uneventful, but when I turned down the hallway toward my room, I noticed the lighting immediately. It was dimmer than the rest of the floor, like this section had been deprioritized. The carpet looked less worn, the air heavier. I looked up and saw a camera dome mounted near the ceiling. It wasn't aimed down the hall, it was turned slightly toward the wall. I paused for a second, then shrugged it off. Maintenance issue, I told myself. My room was at the end of the hall. When I opened the door, the smell hit me first. It wasn't dirty or moldy, just unused, like stale air that had been circulating too long without people in it. The room looked clean, but it didn't feel occupied. I dropped my bags, locked the door, slid the deadbolt, and did my usual scan. Windows, bathroom, closet. Habit more than fear. I picked up the phone to call the front desk for an extra pillow. No dial tone. I pressed buttons. Hung up. Tried again. Nothing. Annoying, but not alarming. I made a mental note to mention it in the morning and turned on the TV for background noise. The channel guide didn't match what was playing. The remote looked older than the television. Minor inconsistencies stacked up, but nothing screamed danger. When I opened the closet to hang my blazer, I noticed a maintenance sticker on the inside of the door. Handwritten date and initials. It was months out of date. My eyes drifted to the door hardware. The latch plate looked new. Clean screws, different wear than the rest of the handle. I stood there a second, then told myself what I always tell myself. Hotels fix things quietly. It's cheaper that way. I slept hard. The kind of sleep you get when exhaustion overrides curiosity. In the morning, I mentioned the phone casually at the front desk. "Hey, just a heads up. My room phone didn't work last night." The man behind the counter stopped typing. "What room were you in?" he asked. I told him. He didn't nod, just paused, then said, "I'll let maintenance know." His tone felt off. I had a full day of work and pushed it out of my head. That night, I returned later than planned. The event ran long, as events always do. The lobby was still busy, still loud, still reassuringly normal. In the elevator, a man in a maintenance uniform stepped in just before the doors closed. He smelled like cleaner, keys clipped to his belt. Halfway up, he spoke without looking at me. "You were in the room at the end of the hall, right?" "Yes," I said. "Why?" "That room shouldn't be assigned," he said. "It's been offline." "Offline how?" He hesitated. "Due to an incident." The elevator stopped. He stepped out and didn't elaborate. I walked faster than I meant to down the hallway. The lights seemed dimmer than before. The camera dome was still angled wrong. I swiped my keycard. Red light. Swiped again. Red. I stood there, staring at the handle, suddenly aware of how quiet that section of the hall was. Then I heard footsteps behind me. A security guard was already there, close, like he hadn't walked up so much as appeared. "Can I help you?" he asked. "This is my room," I said. "The card worked last night." "What room number?" he asked. I told him. He shook his head. "That's not your assigned room." "I slept here." "Your reservation is for a different room." He didn't argue. He didn't apologize. He just waited. At the front desk, the clerk pulled up my reservation and turned the screen a little. A different room number was listed. Different floor, even a different wing. "I have my things in there," I said. "Housekeeping will assist," he replied. The security guard stood just close enough to remind me I didn't control the situation. They moved me to another room with normal lighting and working phone. Hardware that matched. Everything clean and documented. At checkout the next morning, my folio listed only the correct room. No record of the other one and no explanation. I stood there holding that paper, feeling ridiculous for wanting proof of something I knew had happened. I drove home thinking about systems, about logs and records and how much we trust them. I plan events for a living. My job depends on documentation. Two things made me particularly uneasy that night. First is what incident happened in that room, and then it's how easily the hotel erased my presence. Like if something had gone wrong, the paperwork would have shrugged and moved on, and no one would have been able to say I was ever there. I travel so much for work that one hotel just blends into the next. Same carpet patterns, same laminated evacuation map behind the door, same key card sleeve with the Wi-Fi password printed so small you have to squint. I don't care about decor. I care about silence. This was March 2019, Dayton, Ohio. 2-night work trip. Nothing unusual. Client meetings, solo dinner, early morning checkout. I booked a mid-range chain near the highway. The lobby felt busy, but calm. Families checking in. A guy pacing on his phone. Sports on the TV with the sound off. Normal noise, normal energy. My room was on the 3rd floor near the end of a long hallway, the kind where footsteps echo whether you want them to or not. I dropped my bags, lined my shoes up by the door, plugged my phone in, left the bathroom nightlight on, and went to sleep. I've always been methodical. The sound woke me instantly. Beep. Click. Anyone who travels recognizes it, a key card being accepted. I opened my eyes and waited for the rest of the sequence to make sense. Then the door handle dipped and stopped. The swing bar was on. What hit me wasn't panic, it was confusion. Whoever tried the door didn't react, didn't even apologize. And then the problem, there was no footsteps retreating, just silence pressed against the other side of the door. I sat up slowly and checked the time. It was 12:41 a.m. After a minute, I got up and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, brightly lit, no movement. I told myself it was someone with the wrong room. Then it happened again. Beep. Click. The handle moved again, held for a second, like someone leaning into it, then released. That was it. I called the front desk. The night clerk answered quickly, upbeat in that forced, overnight way. I explained calmly. I didn't accuse, I just described the sounds and the handle movement. Then he said, "I don't see any duplicate keys issued for your room." "I'm not saying there should be," I replied. "I'm saying someone tried my door." He said security would check the hallway. No one came. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Nothing. I called again. This time, the clerk sounded irritated. "The locks glitch sometimes," he said. "A glitch doesn't move the handle," I replied. He didn't argue. He just repeated that security was aware. I didn't wait anymore. I left my room and took the elevator down. In person, the clerk looked young, early 20s, energy drink on the counter, one earbud in. I told him again. His face stayed neutral, like he was reciting policy instead of responding to a situation. "No duplicate keys," he repeated. "And the hallway cameras on your floor are down for maintenance." "All of them?" I asked. "Yes," he said quickly. I asked for a room change. "We're fully booked." I looked around the lobby. It was quiet. There was no crowd. No visible reason for that answer. I went back upstairs because I didn't have another option at 1 a.m. in a city I didn't know. Back in the room, I added my own precautions. I wedged the desk chair under the door handle, not because it would stop anyone, but because it would make noise. I left all the lights on and sat on the bed fully dressed. At 2:07 a.m., the sound came again. Beep. Click. This time, the handle didn't just test. It pulled. Harder. Once. Then again. The swing bar rattled. Then it stopped. I didn't sleep after that. I sat with my phone in my hand, staring at the door, listening for something, anything, to confirm the threat had moved on. Morning came slowly. At the front desk, a different clerk was working. I explained what happened. She listened more carefully, but the answer didn't change. No duplicate keys issued. I asked for a manager. He appeared with the same calm smile and the same explanation. Secure locks. No record. Camera down for maintenance. When I checked out, the clerk printed my receipt and slid it toward me. As I took it, she looked past me, toward the manager's office, then quickly looked down again. That small movement stuck with me. A couple weeks after that, I couldn't help myself. I searched the hotel online, pairing its name with phrases like key card and door unlocking. I found posts, different people, different dates, but the same description. Replies under the posts said the same thing I'd been told. No duplicates, and cameras down. I still don't understand what happens in that hotel, but I don't trust that chain anymore. I was 22, and I'd never really stayed in a hotel alone before. I'd done the family version, with 2 beds, loud TV, my dad complaining about the ice machine. This was different. This was my name on the reservation, my credit card, my responsibility. I was trying to act like that didn't matter. I was in Madison, Wisconsin, October 2018 for a campus thing. So I booked a basic chain hotel near the highway. A game was playing behind the front desk. People in hoodies moved in and out like it was any normal night. I remember thinking, good, nothing weird. My room was on the 4th floor, halfway down the hall. The lighting was that soft yellow that makes everything feel slightly unreal. My footsteps sounded louder than they should have. Inside, the room looked exactly like the pictures. Tight bed, bolted TV, small desk no one ever uses, and a sliding closet door by the bathroom, the kind that never moves smoothly. I tossed my bag on the bed and did what I told myself was being smart, not paranoid. I checked the window lock, the deadbolt, the chain. Then I looked at the closet. I'd heard enough stories to make it a habit. I even laughed at myself while I did it, like that somehow canceled the fear. I slid the door open. 2 hangers, extra blanket and plastic, a wall safe, nothing else. When I closed it, the door caught in the track. It always did. I had to push it a little harder at the end for it to fully shut. I remember that because I did it twice. Once normally, once again, just to be sure. I showered, set my alarm, and went to sleep. I slept deeper than I expected. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed wasn't the light through the curtains or the traffic outside. It was the closet door. It was open a few inches, like someone had started to open it and stopped. My first thought was automatic. Maybe I didn't close it. My second thought came faster. No, it sticks. I sat up and stared at it, waiting for something to happen. My brain ran through easy explanations: air pressure, settling, the usual list you make when you don't want to feel stupid. Then I smelled it. It was faint, but wrong. Cologne, not mine. I barely wore any back then. I checked my stuff right away. Wallet, phone, keys, cash. Everything was there. Nothing missing. And that made it worse. If something had been stolen, I could have filed it away as a crime, a motive. But nothing missing meant what? Someone came in and didn't need anything? I walked to the closet and pushed the door shut. It caught in the same spot as the night before. I opened it again and closed it again. It didn't drift. It didn't slide. If it was open, someone had moved it. I checked the locks. Deadbolt was still on. So either no one came through the door or they had a key. I told myself I was overreacting. I went through my day anyway. Interviews, small talk, pretending to be confident. But the smell stayed in my head like it had nowhere else to go. That night, when I came back to the room, I stood in front of the closet for a long time, just staring at it. Then I did something that felt stupid and necessary at the same time. I tore a strip from the hotel notepad and slid it into the crack of the closet door so it stuck out slightly. A tell. If the door opened, the paper would fall. I put the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door handle like I was drawing a line. I fell asleep with the bathroom light on. When I woke up, the paper was on the carpet, and the closet door was cracked open, and the cologne smell was back. I got dressed quickly, like the room had shifted from place to sleep to place I needed to leave. At the front desk, I tried to sound normal. "Hey," I said. "This is probably nothing, but I think someone came into my room overnight." The clerk didn't look surprised. That bothered me more than anything else. "Housekeeping might have come in early," he said. "I had the "Do Not Disturb" sign up." He shrugged like it was a suggestion, not a boundary. I explained the closet, the smell, the paper. I even showed him the strip like evidence. "You want to switch rooms?" he asked, already typing. "Yes," I said fast, then tried to soften it. "If that's possible." He just handed me a new key card, didn't ask any more questions, and didn't talk of checking anything. I went back upstairs to grab my things, and the hallway felt different, like I'd been marked as a problem. Inside the room, everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. It felt handled, like someone had been careful not to leave a mess. I grabbed my bag and left. In the elevator on the way down, the air went still, and that's when I smelled it again. Stronger this time. It wasn't on my clothes. It wasn't trailing from the room. It was already in the elevator. I looked around like that made sense. At the next floor, a guy got on. Hoodie, hat low, didn't make eye contact, normal enough that it didn't help. He stood facing forward, hands in his pockets. The cologne got heavier. I didn't look at him. I didn't want to accuse a stranger in my head. I stared at the floor numbers and waited. When the elevator reached the lobby, I got off. He stayed. The doors closed and carried him back up. I turned in my old key, took the new one, and left early the next morning. No breakfast, no lingering. I dropped the card in the box and walked out. For a long time, I didn't tell anyone the full story, because my closet door kept opening and I smelled cologne. Sounds ridiculous. But I know what I know. That door didn't drift, and nothing was taken, which means the point wasn't theft. The point was access. And once you realize someone can get into your room, leave no trace, and have the system shrug it off, you never sleep the same in hotels again. I'm not the kind of person who freaks out over noises in hotels. I travel for work. I sleep in places that smell like carpet cleaner and fried food from the lobby bar. I've heard ice machines scream at 2 a.m. I've heard couples argue through walls. I've heard somebody's kid sprinting down the hall like it's a track meet. None of that is a story. This is a story because at 3:07 a.m., my TV turned on by itself, and for a few seconds it showed my room. It didn't show a movie. It didn't show a hotel welcome screen. My actual room, from above, like somebody had been watching. I was in Reno for one night, just a quick work thing, a property dispute. I'd walked a site earlier in the day, made notes, took photos, tried to explain to a stressed out owner why insurance language is the way it is. By the time I checked into the hotel, I felt like I'd been talking for 10 straight hours. The hotel was fine. Not fancy, not scary. Mid-range place off a main road with a lobby that tried to look modern but still had that tired look in the corners. The kind of hotel where the art is generic desert landscapes and the carpet pattern looks like it was designed to hide stains. The room looked normal. The fixtures were cheap but clean. Bathroom had that little nightlight built into the outlet, throwing a soft orange glow across the tile. One detail did register, but only the way small details register. The smoke detector on the ceiling looked newer than the rest of the stuff. Clean white plastic, no dust ring, almost too bright compared to the slightly yellowed vent cover nearby. I remember thinking, good, at least they maintain something. I ate takeout on the bed, scrolled through emails, set 2 alarms because I had an early drive, and fell asleep with the TV off and the curtains mostly closed. Not all the way, just enough to block headlights without making the room feel sealed. At some point, I rolled over and woke up in that half-awake way. The room felt quiet in the specific, empty way hotels feel in the middle of the night. Then the TV exploded into noise, static, loud enough that my whole body jerked upright like a reflex. The light from the screen hit the walls and the ceiling all at once, harsh and blue-white. I grabbed for the remote on the nightstand without even looking. My fingers landed on it, and I hit the power button. The static stopped. For a second, the screen went black, and then the picture came back, grainy like a camera feed. I saw my bed. I saw the door. I saw the bathroom entrance. I saw myself sitting up under the covers, hair messy, one shoulder out of my sleep shirt, staring straight at the TV. The angle made my stomach twist in a way that I hadn't felt in years, because that wasn't a hallway camera. It wasn't outside my room. It was inside. And it was coming from high up in the corner, like it was mounted near the ceiling looking down. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, 7 at most. Long enough for me to process that I was looking at myself from above. Long enough for me to notice the framing was too perfect. Bed-centered, door-centered, bathroom in frame. Then it cut to black again, and the normal hotel screen popped up like nothing happened. Room number, generic menu, cheery little icons. I didn't move for a moment. I just sat there with the remote in my hand, staring at the welcome screen. My first thought was honestly the dumbest one. Did I accidentally cast something? Then I looked at my phone. It was on the charger. Screen dark, no apps open, no Bluetooth speaker, nothing. I turned the TV off. It went off normally. I turned it back on. Normal hotel menu. I clicked through inputs, HDMI, TV, whatever. Nothing. Then I stood up and looked around the room like I was trying to catch a person in the act, which is ridiculous, because if someone is doing something like that, they're not standing in the corner waiting for applause. My eyes went right to the ceiling. I stood under the smoke detector and looked up. From the bed, it had seemed normal. From directly beneath it, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't perfectly centered with the vent. It was slightly turned, like it had been twisted a hair to the left. And under it, barely visible if you weren't looking for it, was a tiny dark dot. A pin-sized dot that didn't match the plastic. I dragged the desk chair over, trying not to make noise even though I was alone. I stood on the chair close enough to see the ceiling paint around the detector. There was a faint scratch, like someone had slid a tool across it, fresh enough that it didn't have dust in it, just a pale line in the paint. I didn't touch the detector. I didn't poke at it. I just stared and felt my thoughts tighten into a narrow, ugly lane. If that's a camera, it means someone installed it or replaced it. If someone installed it, it means someone has access. If someone has access, it means I'm not the first person. That's when my calm started slipping into that cold dread you get when you realize you're dealing with something that can't be solved by being polite. I called the front desk. I kept my voice level because I didn't want to sound like a person who watches too much true crime. "Hi, I'm in room 215, I said. My TV just turned on by itself and it looked like it was showing a security camera feed. There was a pause on the other end. Not the normal pause where they're looking up your reservation. A pause like the person was deciding which script to use. "That's not possible," the clerk said. I waited, giving him room to correct himself. "Well, it happened." "What did it show?" "My room," I said. Another pause, shorter this time. "Ma'am, there aren't cameras in the rooms." "I didn't say there were," I replied, even though I basically had. "I'm telling you what I saw." He went into that customer service voice that sounds friendly but flat. "Sometimes the cable glitches. Sometimes it can pull up strange channels. It happens." "It wasn't a channel," I said. "It was a view from above my bed." Now he didn't respond right away, and that delay did more to me than any creepy sentence could have. Finally, "I can send maintenance in the morning." "No," I said. "I want to switch rooms. We're pretty full tonight. I'll take a worse room. I don't care." He said he'd check. While he was checking, the TV clicked on again behind me. Not the loud static this time, just a flicker of light. I turned and saw static for half a second. Then black. Then the hotel menu again. And at the exact moment it changed, I heard a tiny mechanical click above me. Soft, like something powering down. I stood there with my phone in my hand, thumb hovering over 911, and realized I was doing a math problem in my head. Is it safer to call the front desk again and admit I'm scared? Or safer to call police and explain something that sounds insane? The clerk came back and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't move you tonight." I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I said okay, because my brain was already moving to the next step. I turned on every light in the room. Bathroom light, desk lamp, everything. I sat on the edge of the bed in my shoes with my coat on, phone in hand, and waited for the sun like it was an appointment. Nothing else happened after that, which almost made it worse because it felt like someone had seen enough. At 6:30 a.m., I checked out early. The lobby was bright and normal. Coffee smell. Morning news on the TV. A guy in a suit scrolling on his phone like he didn't have a care in the world. At the desk, I asked casually, like I was making conversation, "How long has the smoke detector been in 215? The clerk blinked at me. I don't know." "Is it new?" I pressed. He typed something. "It looks like it was replaced recently." "Recently, like last week?" I asked. Another tiny pause. "It just says recently." I nodded like that was a satisfying answer and took my receipt. In my car, I looked down at the folio and felt that last little twist. I've spent my whole career trusting systems. Locks, logs, procedures, front desk policies. And I left Reno with a new rule I hate having to follow. If the people in charge start denying what you're seeing with your own eyes, it's because they're not confused. They're managing you. And that click above my head when the feed shut off, that sound meant something in the ceiling was active. And someone, somewhere, had control over it. If tonight proved anything, it's that locks don't stop intent. They just slow it down. Go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss the next nightmare, and tell me which story messed with you the most. And if you think hotels are unsettling, try inviting strangers onto your lawn for great deals. Click now to watch 4 really disturbing yard sale stories, because not every shopper is there for the bargains. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.